Good afternoon, everyone in Africa as well as in Europe. I'm trying to shed light on the situation which is happening in England currently. Most of you, I think, are watching the news on your television set and through different channels across the world, and you're getting a lot of versions of what the journalists are saying, depending on what is dictated to them or what they pick up on the ground from their correspondents. And all this is being dished out to the viewers, and me being one among them. We have seen violent protests which have caused a lot of life loss as well as casualties, like people who are wounded. We have seen the indigenous British people claiming to regain their country, which they allege that has been taken from them by immigrants, legal as well as illegal ones, or those who are waiting. The asylum seekers who are waiting to be legalized on their land. All this is causing confusion in the mind of viewers as they don't know really the origin of the conflict. Truly, it is legitimate to any native to claim their property, but today it has reached a bigger proportion whereby different opinions are being stated, and innocent or ignorant people don't know really where they stand. Where does it start, or where did it start? Uh, this conflict, which has erupted in what we're watching today. All in all, it is the mistake of the Western countries, and England is one among them. Colonization, slavery, etc., were motivated by the greed of those who call themselves superior race, developed countries, etc., etc. They are greedy, and the greed sent them across the globe to colonize countries and take possession of their wealth. In modern time, we have a special case rooted in Africa with a certain guy called, who is well known, is the darling of all the Western countries. That is Mr. Paul Kagame, the mosquito and mantis president of Rwanda. Rwanda is a small, a tiny country uh, on the globe as well as on the African map. It is a poor country, so to speak. Poor in resources, in minerals, in everything except in one thing: lies, extortion, and to some extent, prostitution of their women. To survive, Rwanda needs rules to lie and get what they call AIDS in international cooperation field. I'm warning everyone in the world that whenever you are or you come across a Rwandan, put in your mind you're dealing with a liar, with a thief, with an envious person, with a jealous person, and to cap it up, with a very dangerous person who can kill you anytime he want. He can come to you, you accommodate him or her, but at the end, the motive behind his kindness is to get possession of what you have. And whenever he kills you or she kills you, they don't care. Kagame has been chosen by the Western elite as well as the and their multinationals to play a dirty game in Africa of invading and occupying other countries, killing, stealing, looting, and serving his masters. And this justifies why there was what is called Rwandan genocide, Tutsi genocide, which was not and still is not a Tutsi genocide. It is a Rwandan genocide because it is not only Tutsi who were massacred during that tragic period. Many writers, many investigators, and many independent minds have published a series of books as well as documentaries to say the contrary of what Mr. Paul Kagame and his supporters have been feeding the world with. It was not a Tutsi genocide. I repeat, this has been a Rwandan genocide orchestrated by Paul Kagame and his backers. Because Rwanda is not only inhabited by the Tutsi. The Tutsi are the supremacists who think that they are superior than other tribes. We have three communities or three tribes in Rwanda. We have the Twa, historically are those we call the indigenous people or inhabitant of the land, followed by the Bantu, who are the Tutsi. So I'm talking about Twa, Hutu, and then the Tutsi. Historically, it is well known how the Tutsi migrated from Northern Africa, where you're talking about uh, Ethiopia, Eritrea, then they came down with their cattle up to the grazing land of Rwanda, where they could feed the animals with the green grass. So historically, and nobody will prove me the contrary, Tutsi were the last to migrate to Rwanda. And they came to subjugate the two old tribes of the land through their lies, their gossip, their extortion, and that hegemonistic attitude that they have got, calling themselves they are superior than the Bantu. You should know that after America has been beaten, and they can't deny it, by Somali in Somalia, under the leadership of General Mohammed, I did. A lot of weapons of America was, I mean, were left in Somalia. As time went on, Museveni who conquered Uganda after leaving Tanzania, got hold of these weapons. I will not totally develop what happened, and gave it to the refugee Tutsi who have been for almost 40 or 30 years living in Uganda to go and return to their country, to Rwanda. You should know that Museveni is not a Ugandan originally. He is a Rwandan. He was born in Butare. It is well known, whatever he can say. And there is no shame for him to say that he's from Rwanda. So he's a Tutsi as well. Today they call him the Banyankole, so he's a Munyankole. And he gave a lot of weapons to the Rwandan refugees, the Tutsi refugees in Uganda to go and invade Rwanda. That was during the term in office of Bill Clinton, the American president of that time. They were beaten by Africans as they were in Vietnam at the time. So America can claim to be a superpower, but there are poor people, the Africans, bet them by Somali. Congratulations for the Africans who bet up the pompous superpower. Now, Kagame massacred Tutsi as well as Hutu after the Hutu have tried to resist after the shooting down of the majority president, Juvenal Abiyarimana. Presidential jet has been shot down. Many of them crossed the border instead of going to Kenya, Tanzania, or Uganda. The closest border was the Zaire of the time, which was renamed DRC, the Democratic Republic of Congo. Should know at the independence, 1960, Congo was still called Congo. And 1965, when Joseph Desire Mobutu made his coup d'etat, as time went on, around 1970, it changed the Democratic Republic of Congo into Zaire until his demise, I think in 1996, when Zaire was invaded by the Rwandans, who were supported by Bill Clinton. Politically, America wanted to get hold of Congolese minerals by kicking out France, which has enjoyed for too long the wealth of Central Republican and as well as West African and all its colonies that it had in the north, in Central as well as in the Western Africa. You know those French-speaking countries: Cameroon, Togo, Senegal, etc., etc. Black country mostly. Rwandans invaded Congo and they came along with a stooge called Laurent Kabila until he was killed. That to cut it short. Now let us go back to what is happening in England. Rwanda being a very poor country, rich in lies and the prostitution of their daughters, had to survive But you should know that all this money that Rwanda has been looting from Congo doesn't help Rwanda as a country to develop. Well, they keep on building up some uh, buildings in Kigali, but go back into the backyard in rural areas. It is not like what they show us in the capital city. We got all the pictures of what is happening, what life is all like in the backyard of the country. It is total poverty. And what they are mirroring to us is minimal compared to the money that they loot and which Kagame and his staunch members and backers are pocketing in the passage. Now, the problem here in England is the British government and Paul Kagame. I'm not talking about Rwandan government. I'm talking about Paul Kagame as an individual who is greedy, who is a thief, who is a liar, and who is crafty. He wants money and he thinks that by pocketing a lot of money, it will make him an eternal individual who won't die. He is immortal and things like that. Or probably it will help him to gain a bit of weight because, as you know, him morphologically is a mosquito. Is well, that is his physique. Uh, but you think that it will beautify him to some extent. That according to what we see, the guy is just a greedy person and who is schizophrenic. Around 2015, 2016, Mr. Paul Kagame contacted the Israeli government. First of all, maliciously, he asked them, do you have illegal immigrants in your country, mostly Africans? If you have them, my country has got space and it is ready to welcome any asylum seeker in your country. They will come here and live in Rwanda and will consider them as citizens of this country. It would have helped you to get rid of a whole lot of immigrants who are disturbing you on the street, etc., and putting a lot of demand on you to help them, etc. Well, we don't know how the deal ended, but to some extent, according to the rumors that we got information, thorough information, to some extent, even though he is benefiting from the intelligence service of Israel, Israel declined the demand of of uh, of Paul Kagame. Later on, Paul Kagame contacted through his informers and his intelligence service the Denmark government and asked them whether they had black immigrant asylum seekers who would like to be resettled in another country. After thorough research, the Denmark government, you know, that's why not many people are living in Denmark, but the Denmark government said, no, we don't have many blacks here. Most of people who are here are, immigrant people from Afghanistan, from Asia anyway, Afghanistan, Pakistan, and some Arabs, but blacks, they are minimal and most of them are not illegal. His application in Denmark failed. And then he changed his gear to the British government in England. Then here, by good coincidence, he came across the former Prime Minister Boris Johnson. Boris Johnson government, as well as himself, came across big problem. They didn't have enough money, and he himself didn't have enough money. Boris Johnson. Then He ran to contact the former prime minister at the time, before him, his predecessor, that was Tony Blair. He went to Tony Blair to ask him, but the time you were prime minister, I saw you well off with money. When were you outsourcing all this money to have a better life, things like that, and even to put something into the government fund and coffers? I mean, Tony Blair answered, "Look, me and Bill Clinton, what we do, we got our game player, that is Mr. Paul Kagame, the president of Rwanda. This guy, because we are so-called, between bracket, white, we control, we manage the world. Whichever decision we take is acceptable. Nobody can contest this. We have put an embargo. We put an embargo on the DRC. We supply weapons to Kagame to invade Congo, massacre Congolese people. We demonize Congo, and through the media that we own and control, we are laundering Kagame's image across the world, that he's the best leader. He brings order, peace, and stability, and his country is an emerging country, uh, and there is security. So we do all our best to bring investors into his country, and this allows him to invade Congo and continue looting, plundering Congo. Much of what he give us as a dealer, as a commissioner. He gets something on commission, and we get the best. And this money is our money, me, Tony Blair, and the rest. Because that's how we live. When Boris Johnson was in power, he said, me too, I should do the same. So he followed Tony Blair's path and dealing with Kagame to supply weapons, to defend him, to beautify his image all over the world, uh, and present him as the best leader in Africa. Just to repeat myself, Boris Johnson as well entered into the deal with President Kagame. I start dealing with this. Kagame then told him, as he did with Israel, as well as with the government of Denmark, say, look, thank you, we can deal. Look, in England, there are plenty of black people there, and many asylum seekers from different countries. Uh, can you send them to me to stay here in Rwanda? In return, you pay me some money, you support me, and I can double, triple whatever you might have given me to support them here through the looting that I am making in Congo. Johnson also said it's fine with me. An amount of 145 million pound, or I don't know, US dollars, were transferred. Let me see, was transferred to Paul Kagame. Kagame contacted a private entrepreneur in Kigali who was building a hotel which finally was renamed Hope Hotel, a hotel to give hope to desperate, destitute, poor migrants in England. When that money came into Rwanda, well, Kagame, being a good game player, gave a certain small amount to the hotel builder or owner, and the biggest part of the money he pocketed him for his own private benefit. And I started building the hotel. I don't know, it has got how many rooms. Our informers in Kigali, who are Tutsi beside, who informed us, told us the hotel is acceptable and it can be rated, I don't know, 3 or 2 stars hotel, which was to house the refugees from England. England is full of blacks, full of uh, Arabs, Muslims, Syrians, Afghans, and Pakistans, and all over the world. Jamaicans, we can't even talk about people who come from Caribbean, etc., who populate England. Some living them legally, some asylum seeker waiting on the list to be legalized. And there are those who have been born there for too long, for centuries and years, who are there. This money having been transferred to Kagame, we had a new prime minister called, he was of Indian origin, called, I think, Richie, something like that. Richie Su, something like that, who was born in in uh, uh, in Kenya. Well, this guy became prime minister, and he has been there for a few months, as you know. Just like a domestic worker who should conduct some interim affairs while waiting for the government of his party to collapse and the Labour Party of England to take over. Now we got a new prime minister. Uh, uh, Rishi Sunak also entered the game. So we're talking about Tony Blair, we're talking about Boris Johnson, and Rishi Sunak. Unfortunately, Rishi Sunak government collapsed, and now we got a new prime minister. When the case came onto the table of Rishi Sunak, the current prime minister, he totally rejected. They still said, no, I don't want this, and we will not deploy or redeploy immigrant into Rwanda. Consequently, Kagame must refund the money to where it came from. That means England. I think you're following uh, my reasoning and my analysis pretty well. Where is the bone of contention? Now, Kagame resists. He doesn't want to refund the money that he received during the preceding government of Boris Johnson and Rishi Sunak. He refused to refund the money to England. Now, because Tutsi are killers, thieves, jealous, etc., Kagame, through his contact with Tutsi who live in England, has ordered a family of a young boy called Axel Rudakubana, a 17 years old boy, a Tutsi, truly linked to Kagame, to cause a murder. That boy, Axel, acted and killed 3 little girls uh, in Newport City, causing the violent protest that all of us are witnessing on the screen from England. Now, the British politicians, instead of explaining the situation clearly to their citizens. They are hiding this version, and they mutate the blame to Muslims or Islam. And you see uh, people brandishing papers. uh, England is not London, is not England, Englandistan. It that this and that, which means they are attacking Muslims, Arabs, or Asian. But the current protest, as I have explained to you, has nothing to do with Islam, has nothing to do with Muslim, has nothing to do with all the migrants who have been there for too long. The politicians are twisting the version instead of telling the truth to the citizens and keeping them in total ignorance. And those who can't analyze the stench, they take to the street to vandalize, to kill, to stab, and you name it, all what we see. But the truth of the matter is what I've just explained to you, that there is a conflict between the British government and Mr. Paul Kagame, who pocketed the money that he received from the British government uh, because of the refugees, asylum seekers who had to be redeployed or deployed to Rwanda. And Kagame has used the money and gave part of this money to the hotel owner. And now he's unable to pay back the money as he has been instructed by the new government of the new prime minister, who doesn't uh, play the game of his predecessor. That is the truth, and that is what I have to tell you. But in the backyard, to show how good was the romance between Paul Kagame and the Western people, mostly the British people, there is a time Rwanda originally, apart from being a former German uh, colony, after Germany has lost the Second World War, beaten by the Allies in 1945, uh, Germany lost its colonies, and Rwanda was among them. It was given to Belgium as a compensation for, the trampling of Belgium by the German troops. Rwanda started speaking French because in Belgium they speak French and Flemish, etc. Kagame, having stayed for too long in Uganda, became an English speaker, and when he returned, invaded Rwanda. Through his dictatorship, he imposed that Rwanda and Rwandans should no longer use French as official administrative language, and he imposed English in the whole country. Forgetting that he's a mortal, one day he may die, he will die surely, and then people can go back to the language they used to speak during colonial period up to the time Kagame came back to Rwanda. I was saying, therefore, because Rwanda joined the Commonwealth, Boris Johnson awarded the organization of the Commonwealth Summit to Rwanda. All this, to show the image of Rwanda that it is a hegemonic country in Africa and things like that. You can put more adjective to explain what Rwanda is, the romance that it plays with the looters and the Western people who have been attacking Congo for too long. Secondly, you have seen this year, 2024, the commemoration, 30th commemoration of the so-called Tutsi genocide in Rwanda. Uh, all those stages show you the remains which was taking place between Paul Kagame and his backers, poor backers from the West who have no money and who come to prey on Congo, on Africa, etc., where they come and steal, uh, you know, uh, all the resources to beautify their life. Unfortunately, we are all mortals. We die. Whatever they do, uh, they will follow the ancestors who died since uh, a long time. During that commemoration of the 30th anniversary of the so-called Tutsi uh, genocide, the Congolese president called Felix Antoine Chilombo Tshisekedi was invited in Kigali, and he was not shown among the guests. But there was a Belgian journalist who made a gaffe, a blunder, by reporting that among the arrivals, the Congolese president Felix Tshisekedi as well is here. 2 days after, the guy changed his stance by saying, "Oh, sorry, we made a mistake. President Felix Tshisekedi was not there that day," which is not true because our informers in Kigali told us that they saw him, he was there. Anyway, to cut short, during that time, the guy was kidnapped by the intelligence service of Rwanda and its backers. During him being kidnapped and Felix and being kept in a bedroom there of an embassy, they told him, look, the invasion of Congo has taken too long. Yet the time we killed Kabila, he signed that 300 kilometers inside Congo would be given to Rwanda, Uganda, etc. We want you to sign here that the region, the northern part of region in the oriental province Kisangani called Ituri, should be given to President Museveni. The north, the northern and the southern Kivu, plus the province of Katanga, should be given to Paul Kagame, annexing it to Rwanda with all its population, its mineral, etc., etc. Third condition that they made him sign was, Felix, we are tired with these people they called Mai Mai and Wazalendo who have been resisting and killing Rwandan troops and Ugandan troops in the Congo. It looks like the project will not fully succeed. We therefore instruct you not to give them weapons, not to give them support anymore, and to use the DRC troops as well as Rwandan troops and Ugandan troops and Kenyan troops to massacre the Wazalendo. Otherwise, it's your life which is at stake. After that, Felix Tshisekedi was traumatized. And the final point, he disappeared from Congo radar, Rwandan radar, and then he went to Europe, mostly in a Belgium hospital, because he was traumatized. Well, we hear that he was operated, question mark, but he was traumatized. And this is the truth. Why we have protests in Leeds, in Tottenham, in London, everywhere in England. It is because of the refusal of the Rwandan mosquitoes president, Paul Kagame, who is refusing to refund the money that he received from Johnson and the rest. And I post this for the Congo of Lumumba, of Kasavubu, of Pierre Mulele, of Kim Pavita, of all the Congolese marcher, as well as those who are fighting so that the Congolese nation should persist. Have a good weekend.